show to you called BK Presents. 30 minutes, non-stop, your favorite in gospel music studio session. Going deep into interviews with your favorite artists, producers, and their engineers. You and your concert previews and concert reviews. Get it all on bkpresent.com.
What do you get when culture, climate, and community collide? You get Earth Deserves More Than a Day. Rainier Avenue Radio and King County Park stew down with a week of real talk, real people, and real solutions. This ain't your average Earth Day. Tune in and feel the energy because the movement is now.
1, 2, get down.
What's up, big and little homies? This is Maassen, host of Seattle Sports Weekly on RainierAvenueRadio.world, your one-stop shop for Seattle sports. We cover preps, we cover college, we cover pro, we cover it all. Huskies, Mariners, Seahawks, Garfield, South, Roosevelt, Metro, King County. This is where you want to listen to for all the sports that's happening in Seattle. Seattle Sports Weekly on RainierAvenueRadio.world.
Are you in need of new or gently used clothing? Hope's Community Closet is here to help. We offer a wide range of clothing for men, women, youth, children, and infants. Join us on the fourth Saturday of each month from 12:30 to 4 at the Silent Task Force. We're giving clothing with care, community with heart. Lovely Ladies Lemonade for sale, and shop to the sound of old school soul. Any questions? Contact Alicia Kennedy, Executive Director of Women United at 206-316-7601. 206-316-7601. Come and find the perfect outfit for you and your family. We look forward to seeing you there.
RainierAvenueRadio.world is your 24/7 digital media hub. Tune in at RainierAvenueRadio.world. Also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and TuneIn apps.
Welcome to a pivotal moment in the world of broadcast as we proudly present the Men's Mental Health Show featuring the renowned Larry Mabry in collaboration with the Maassen Group. This essential exploration of men's mental health wouldn't be possible without the invaluable support of RainierAvenueRadio.world. Now, let's dive into this crucial conversation with Larry Mabry and the Maassen Group. Your mental well-being matters. Here's Larry Mabry.
Hey, what's going on, guys? How are you guys doing on this beautiful October 20th, 2025? Today, I wanted us to focus on peaceful type relationships, right? This time of year, a lot of things are going on, right? The Mariners are doing what they can do. I noticed there's this vibe in the city. This time of year is interesting as we roll into the fall. But also we notice just a lot of newness as well as the fall season. We kind of see the flowers change. We see the seasons change. And as we kind of gear up, as we prepare for Thanksgiving and that type of thing, I was going for my walk today and I was thinking about, what are some things that we could do to have more peace, right? And a lot of times, I talk to clients and they're like, Larry, how do you do it? And I'm like, good. That's a good question. Ask myself that. And, I like to keep it 100. And I had a challenge that I was kind of working through. And I reached out to my uncle, who's like 9 years older than me. And, he said something that was really profound. He's like, sometimes you just have to sit back and just take a breath, right? I feel like sometimes we as men, we kind of get in action mode, but it's important that we are maintaining our peace. And I wanted to kind of address that today, right? As we're building, what are we doing to kind of maintain our peace? Today, I wanted to look at 10 essential things for living in peace. And so before I go into it, why is peace important, right? Earlier on, I've talked about emotional intelligence. I've talked about trauma, dealing with wounds, things of that nature. And at some point, our bodies, our minds, our spirits, we want to kind of get to a place where we feel some homeostasis, right? We feel like even though things outside of us may not be the way we design, we still have to be at peace with that. And there's a lot of levels to that, right? As far as acceptance, understanding, and just allowing yourself to go with the flow. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that. 10 essential things for living in peace. So the first thing I want to talk about with living in peace is we have to have what we call emotional safety. And the individual before, I believe Brad from Thought Life had some really good poignant points he talked about as far as handling yourself. He talked a little bit about the anger and handling yourself, but we all have emotions, right? And so what are you doing to make sure you're taking care of yourself? A lot of times we have expectations of people. We project things on people. People have expectations of us. And I've noticed when I step back and just sit and observe, a lot of times, we have a lot of projections that we put on people, expectations. That person should have came at me this way. That person should have came at me that way. That person didn't acknowledge me for this, right? Or I didn't acknowledge for that, right? A lot of times we kind of get into these conversations within our minds, our mental state, right? At the end of the day, what are we doing to provide that safety for ourselves? And so that's really important, right? A lot of times, we have these expectations, but out of 24 hours, have we just taken some time to sit back and say, you know what? I'm in this space where I'm emotionally safe, right? How can we expect people outside of us to show them that they're demonstrating safety if we're not? We have to model that for ourselves. And so how do we do that? Well, the first thing is we want to create that internal space for safety as well as external. And so let me break it down. So what are you doing to honor your feelings? Really important. I know for me, going on walks have been really beneficial. Lately, I've been working out and I can see the benefits of that. A lot of times, frustration, right? I remember how athletic I was back in the day. And I'm like, okay, I'm not there, right? But accepting that and say, okay, you know what? I'm putting in work now. As long as I'm growing, that's a good thing, right? So honoring where you're at in the moment, making sure you are witnessing your emotions as well as honoring your emotions. Sometimes you might need to take a step back and say, hey, this is where I'm at in the moment. Practicing self-validation. Let me explain. So you want to make sure you surround yourself with people who support you. Very, very crucial. Sometimes, people can say a lot of things that are negative. And so you have to, if you look at it in terms of a lot of things that people feel they put out, right? If you're around some trash and you notice the smell is not really appropriate, you're not going to hang out there. You're going to probably take the trash out, right? Or you're going to close the lid, or you're going to separate yourself from that. So how I look at it is when people have certain attitudes, they emit a certain frequency. They emit a certain vibe, right? And it's important for you to honor the vibes that are building you up. Now, let's not get it twisted. It's important for people to be honest, right? So if obviously there's some things that you need to work on, I mean, fair enough. However, people don't need to browbeat you, right? People don't need to be aggressive. They can still present it in such a way where you can work on it, but also move on from it, right? It's important to have that balance. So that's a key thing. Number 2, clear boundaries. Define what is sacred to you. What is negotiable and what is non-negotiable. Very, very, very important. So, for example, what types of activities are you doing every day that's sacred? And to me, sacred is like something that it's just between you and source. It's just between you and God, you or the person that is important to you. For me, it's God. What is negotiable, right? Because things pop up. You may go out to the car, boom, all of a sudden the car's not starting, right? You can't get mad at the car, but you can definitely take a step back and acknowledge yourself if you left the lights on, right? And say, oh, okay, I need to make sure I take care of that. If you need to fix a battery, get the car back up to par, take responsibility for that, move past it, right? And then what's non-negotiable, right? What are some things that they're not sacred, but they're firm values, right? Let's talk about that for a little bit. So for me, as I've matured and as I've morphed and evolved, I realized that again, sometimes people can say things and it's okay for them, but at the same time, if you're at a place where you're like, you know what, I'm going to give myself love, I'm going to give myself positivity. Again, it's important to have constructive criticism, but at the same time, if somebody's creates an energy where they're not allowing that space for you to feel free to express yourself, then I would say that's, to me, what I would call a non-negotiable. If you're in a space where people see things differently, but they're open, okay, that could be negotiable. But then there's certain things that are sacred to you. Doesn't matter what people do, right? This is between you and God. That's really important, because a lot of times you go out here in the world, you see a person, you see their situation. Give me an example. We may go out, you're driving, doing your thing. You had a long day for the week or a long day for that day. You're driving, you look to your left as you're pulling off on the freeway, you notice your gentleman standing there with a sign, we'll work for food or something. Many thoughts go through your mind, right? Sometimes you may think, you know what, I'm feeling a little compassionate, let me give him a couple dollars. Sometimes you may think, you know what, I bust my behind this week, he needs to bust his butt. A lot of thoughts go on, right? You may judge him, things of that nature, but I want to put this out here, because a lot of times, like, you don't know what people have gone through, and you don't know the lessons that God has for that individual, right? That individual that we have those thoughts from, that could actually be a person like Jesus, right? And it's important that we treat and honor people no matter where they are, even though they're different than us, right? And I think sometimes that we kind of get caught up on status. I know for me, back when I was in the classroom heavy, what I noticed for those teachers out there, if you're paying attention, what I noticed was a lot of times when you're working with children, they're going to show you the authentic self, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the challenge I would have, especially in middle school, would be individuals who were not really comfortable within their own skin. So a lot of times, because they weren't comfortable within their own skin, basically they want to pull people down. Mean girls, mean boys, the jocks, the musicians, the thespians, these cliques of people, right, who had this certain mentality where, oh, because I'm good in this particular thing, I'm better than you. And for me, that was a challenge, like in high school, right? But ultimately, what I realized as I've matured is it's important to just meet people where they're at, because you don't know, right? I've known, for me personally, I've been through some challenges. And for me, how I look at it is those were tough lessons that I've learned. And if you saw me at a certain part of my life, I was going through certain lessons. And so for me, it's important to realize you take a snapshot of a person when you interact with them. You don't know what they've been through, and you don't know what lessons that God has allowed them to grow through. So it's important to meet people where they're at and make sure that you honor that person where they are, right? Use rituals or trackers or visual cues to reinforce boundaries in your daily life. So for example, you may have an alarm set. I know for me, typically in the morning, lately I've been taking my medication or vitamins, things of that nature, detoxing, drinking my water with my lemon, right? Certain things I do, go for my walk, right? That's like something that I do every day to kind of give to myself, right? Maybe you work out, right? 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Some people may watch TV. Again, no judgment. Whatever you need to do for you to kind of motivate yourself, but that's a clear boundary for yourself. Number 3, align relationships, very, very important. And this is gonna be a tricky one too, because sometimes, you can outgrow people, right? But sometimes you can grow with people too, really important. So, choose a reflection of a commitment that's reflective of you, somebody who can support you, but at the same time, kind of hold you accountable. Someone that has similar values, somebody who's honoring your emotional needs, very, very important. Doesn't matter whether it's a polygamous relationship, monogamous relationship, it's important to make sure that you develop trust, unity, and peace, right? What I noticed too is communication is really important. So, and again, story time. I had a situation. I was talking to a friend of mine who they were trying to reach me, and I'm the type of person where so if I'm in the middle of something, it's like I can't really stop in what I'm doing to just have a conversation, right? It depends on the severity. So if I'm in a, like I would say, to-do mode where I'm trying to knock out these tasks and I'm only have a certain period of time, I know for me, it's best for me to stay in that energy to get it done. And then later on, I can have a conversation with people. But I had a conversation with one of my friends and they brought something to my attention. And they were like, hey, you know, I just was calling you to check in on you and just to check in and say, what's up? And I had to take a step back and just say, you know what? Thank you. Right. I think it's important to create, like if people are trying to give you the olive branch, it's important to accept it. Because I feel like sometimes we get to run and we forget it. And so I said, hey, you know what? Thank you for that. And that was me acknowledging that, hey, this individual is showing me an aligned, genuinely caring type of situation, right? And you want to try to honor those things. And then I had to stop as far as like me trying to be task oriented. I had to stop and say, you know what? I just want to say I appreciate you for doing that, right? Because it takes a risk. We don't realize the risk it takes for people to kind of put themselves out there and say, hey, I'm thinking about you. We don't think about that. We typically think about ourselves, right? Because we genuinely care. But sometimes when a person's in a defensive mode or if they're in a space where they're just all about handling tasks, they're not in the proper mindset to receive it. And that's important, right? To create that balance for receive as far as giving. So another thing I would suggest too, number 4 is self-care. What are you doing every day or every moment or every other day or consistently to create self-care? So that would be, okay, moving your body, breathing, making sure you nourish yourself, things that are very sacred. What I've realized for me that's been very powerful is how you honor yourself. Typically, what happens is people will honor you as well based on how you honor yourself. Now, granted, we're all at different levels on that continuum. That could be making sure that you have positive affirmations for yourself, right? What are you saying that's positive? What do you feel about yourself, right? Are you taking care of your nails? Are you bathing regularly? Brushing your teeth? Just those little things sometimes we could take for granted. What I've lately been doing is stopping and smelling the roses. Very, very important. Stopping and just acknowledging people because we really take for granted that we'll see them tomorrow. And we have to really acknowledge, hey, I see you. I want to say I appreciate you. For those people paying attention, thank you. I appreciate you guys. See you. Hopefully this has been very beneficial. But what are you doing to just stop and smell the roses with yourself, right? Taking care of yourself, it could be something small. So making sure you taking care of oils if you need it, supplements, going for walks, making sure you breathe, checking in with yourself every day, right? Separating yourself from relationships that could be kind of off-putting or throw you off your square or staying from peace. Number 5, this is important. Decluttering your environment. Now, let's talk about that for a second. So, because I have a lot of clients and we talk about this, sometimes decluttering can be very overwhelming, right? If you lived a certain way and you're looking at your room or you're looking in the area and you're like, oh my God, where do I start? Like a bomb hit this place. One suggestion that I would encourage you to do is start in a corner, right? Start in the corner and say, okay, this one corner, I'm going to make sure it looks good, right? And then maybe the next day, hit another corner, right? See where I'm going with this, right? The next day, hit another corner, right? And really work on those 3 corners, right? Eventually, if you keep it consistent, eventually you'll look back and you'll say, you know what? I feel better, right? Even if you have to start small. I think that's going to be beneficial as far as you maintaining not being overwhelmed But also too, when you look in that corner, you're going to feel accomplished. Like, hey, I know where things are in that one corner, right? That's still a positive thing. A lot of times we get overwhelmed and we don't take the action steps to move at all. And so if we just take small steps, right? Very important. And, again, I like to keep it 100. For those people that have been paying attention, I've been talking about my fitness journey. And so in the beginning, the hardest part was starting. So I asked myself, okay, is there one thing I can do consistently? Can you guys guess what that was? Walking, right? I did some research and I'm like, wow, there's a lot of things that happen with walking, and it's something so functional that we need to do every single day. And so I said, what can I do every single day? There's a lot of positive things that happens with walking. One, you move your lymphatic system. Two, oxytocin, the feel-good hormone, you come back, a little bit of glaze, a little bit of sweat, you're feeling better. Three, your mind is clear. A lot of times if you got things you're working through or you're trying to figure out something out, you're a little stressed, you breathing outside, recycling the air, you're feeling a lot clearer just by doing that. So I would encourage you to do that. Also too, digital technology, ding, 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 or TVs, right? And so monitoring that, really important. So minimizing the social media aspect, certain shows that is keeping you from your goals, being mindful of that. Using timelines, right? And just kind of looking back and acknowledging, hey, I've noticed since I've been doing this has improved. Really important. And I've done this myself, right? Purposeful work. That's important. Number 6, engage in work that reflects your values and offers emotional or spiritual fulfillment. Really important. A lot of times, we get out here, we start focusing on, oh man, I got to make that money. Yeah, obviously you got to feed your family, you got to take care of yourself. But when you're really doing something that you enjoy doing, that's coming from your heart, you're feeling fulfilled, the money will always come. You always be taken care of, right? But also too, energetically, what you put out comes back. So if you're putting out being genuine with yourself, what do you think is going to come back? You're going to be genuine with yourself, right? It's a good balance. Also too, caregiving, coaching, that becomes peaceful too, because when you're doing something you enjoy doing, it's like when a challenge comes up, it's more of an opportunity to help you better yourself as opposed to looking at it as a means to an end. So I noticed that. So for me, because I enjoy what I do, I don't have a problem putting in long hours because it doesn't feel like work. I feel like it's just something that I do from my heart. So really important, purposeful things. Also, it aligns with your legacy. And also too, ask yourself, what are you doing to provide service to others? Really, really important. It could be volunteering for dogs, volunteering for a family member. Earlier on, for those people that are paying attention, I'll talk a little bit about the service that I would say I learned early on, right? For those people that paid attention, I talked about Miss Gilroy and how I ended up learning how to take out her trash on Mondays, and it changed my life. All right, number 7, big one, forgiveness and release. And thought life, you talked a little about anger. We're going to take it one step further. Forgiveness actually helps you. Releasing helps you. But also it keeps you light. It keeps your energy light. And if you pair it with like those walks, you're sweating, you're releasing, you're constantly letting it go. You get it, let it go. Get it, let it go. You practice that. But I'm not saying to not feel those feelings. If you're feeling guilt, you're feeling grudges, you're feeling those things, you can connect with myself or other individuals to support you with that. However, these are things that you don't need any type of support. This is more self-maintenance. So if you go for a walk, you process it, and then ask yourself, what's the best thing you could have done in that situation, right? You want to try to do things in your highest good as much as possible. Also too, right, you can journal. I think journal is important. Write down some things that you may want to let go. Get your thoughts out there. You could burn it, let it go. That's a good strategy as well. I've had clients write letters to loved ones. Sometimes they send it to the loved one. Sometimes it's just a matter of getting off their chest and expressing themselves. They feel released with that. Sometimes they'll burn it. Two things are going to happen. One, it gives you the opportunity to face that, because sometimes we have those challenges. And it's not really for the loved one, it's more for you. But once you kind of understand that at the end of the day, they did the best they could, and you want to grow past that, then guess what? You will, right? And you'll be able to release. Number 8, stillness and reflection. So schedule some quiet time with yourself. That could be on a walk, that could be sitting in your car, that could be sitting there, meditation, different types of yoga, different things you're doing, journaling, listening to some music, recalibration, stretching. It could be hitting the gym by yourself, walks in nature. Try this activity when you go for a walk. Maybe turn the phone off for X amount of minutes and just focus on breathing, right? And see what notice. See, practice and see what you notice. Are you trying to grab the phone? Are you feeling some kind of way? That's great. That's just letting you know that's an area of growth that you can work on, right? A lot of times when we sit in silence, our mind wants to fill in the void. And so I think it's important to practice that, because that's also where our spirit can talk to us when we're quiet. All right, number 9, what's your legacy and your meaning, right? Anchor yourself in life with something bigger. What are some things that you are shooting for yourself, right? Is it something for your ancestry? Is it something for your family? Do you have a certain goal that you want to leave back here in society before you leave? Is it a skill, a gift? It could be a spiritual gift. It could actually be a gift that you've worked hard towards. What are you doing, right, to offer generational wisdom for those people behind you, right? Really important. What's your legacy? That's going to give you peace, right? Because you know that when you go through those challenges, that you are here to help regulate that peace, whatever that means for you. And then number 10, my favorite, community and connection, which is kind of why I'm here, right? So trying to connect with the community, right? What are some people that you can connect to when you're going through your challenges? I said before, my Jedi Council, people that I talk to kind of help me stay on top of my game. Who are you connecting with, right? That's important. Having that connection, that's going to help through peer support as well as coaching. Some of the rituals I mentioned. Sometimes they'll give you words of encouragement, words of wisdom. Sometimes just, like I said earlier, a friend just gave me a call and said, hey, I was thinking about you. And I stopped and I said, you know what? I appreciate that. I realize as much as I contribute to the culture and the community, it feels good to have it come back. And so I think it's important to make sure we honor that, right? Okay, so just so you guys know, so tomorrow, King County Executive Debate will be live at 5 o'clock. That'll be followed live town hall on policing at 6 o'clock. So make sure you guys check that out. Also, Friday, our regular season finale for Metro League football, live at 7 o'clock. Eastside Catholic, number 8, Rainier Beach. Make sure you guys take a look at that. Also, for those people that's paying attention, next show coming on, make sure you guys show some love to her. Dr. Tracy Harrell, Better Together and Living Powerfully. She'll be on from 6 to 8. Hopefully the Mariners will do really well. We're seeing how they're doing. They're up right now. We're wishing them well. Just want to say appreciate you guys showing us some love here. What can we do to show peace? Make sure you guys are being peaceful for yourself. And I'll see you guys next week. Without further ado, peace.